Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. I'm done up because I was doing something else, and you know what? I have a little bit of spare time, so I'm actually doing this Saturday evening. Apologies if you asked the question after 9:02 p.m. on the 27th, because I won't have seen it. It's been a bit of a rut for me this week. It's just one of those weeks with a little bit of imposter syndrome. I recorded a few things, just didn't feel good about them, didn't put them out. On top of dealing with a couple of other things to finalize that situation that I referred to a few weeks ago. Finally, just in the home stretch out of that. So, taking a week to me to just kind of chill, have a few meals that I wouldn't normally have. No, I bought some like chips and hummus, the other day. That was nice. I bought, what did I get? I got actually, that's kind of, no. I also, I didn't make garlic bread. I just bought it. It's not even hard to make. I just didn't want to make it myself. Yeah, garlic bread and chips and hummus were the special things I treated myself to this week as kind of a unwind, not to mention, sore as heck. I could use the carbs anyway. It can't hurt as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, since I'm recording this Saturday night, my lighting's a little bit different. It's probably a little messed up. Normally I have to brighten this light right here, and this light's kind of like, this side of my face is a little dark. It just doesn't do well in the evening. But it is what it is. We're going to get on with the usual Q&A. I don't have anything to talk about on the other channel. I didn't post anything on Grand Blue, Stellar Blade. Like I said, it was a lazy week for me. And, with expansion coming out in 2 months, I'm probably going to have a couple more of those outside of my weekly Q&A and State of the Realm. Hey, got to relax somehow. Anyway, let's get into the Q&A. First, thank you to the sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. Nobody has to support the channel in any regards. All my content's available for free. There's no member exclusive stuff or Patreon. I don't do that. It's just people enjoy the channel. And if you enjoy the channel, great. And if you want to do some extra, there's options like that, super chat, whatever. I just do this out of a formality at this point. Anyway, let's get on into the Q&A for last week's comment section. And if you have a question, ask it in this week's comment section. You should really remember to say that at the start of videos instead of the end, because some of you don't make it there. So let's get started. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you had a great day. Today was pretty good. I actually slept in today to boot. I was up late the last couple of nights chatting with a friend of mine. So, that's slept in 2 hours. I feel pretty good for it. I feel pretty good. Do you think they'll ever give us the option to make other classes pets smaller, like summoners? You mean like the machinist or like the Dark Knight one? Let me read the rest first. Nothing is better than seeing Esteem. What's called Esteem? Summoner pet. Wait, no, now I need to know this. Do we mean the shadow? I'm assuming we mean the shadow in this case. / summoner pet, all congregating where the party was at the top getting ready for Looper, especially if Tether is going where the party. See, I've never had an issue seeing any mechanic with any. I play full-size summons, just a personal thing. I've never seen an issue with it. Generally speaking, if you know a mechanic is coming, you look for it. And so I guess I have a hard time identifying with this problem. That being said, options are never bad. It would be dumb of me to say, no, don't do that. That's so stupid. No, but I'm kind of indifferent about it. Could they? Probably. I mean, if they can change summoner pets, I don't see why you couldn't change literally anything else. And if it's an option and it helps people, yeah, I mean, what's the harm in that? But do I think they'll do it? No. I'm not optimistic about it, just because I don't think they view the queen or the shadow friend or anything like that in the same vein as Bahamut, Phoenix, Ifrit. Those are massive, massive things popping up on the screen. But sure, I mean, why not? If they do it, then great. There was a quick, not even a question above this. It's just a statement about how the light farms in Eureka are optional. That's true for Pyros. Pagos' light farm is not optional. You do absolutely, I think it's, feel free to correct me, 34 Pagos light crystals per relic, if memory serves correctly. It's only the Pyros one that's optional, though. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Aloha and Ivy. And no, so I saw a comment last week that I was saying Hola instead of Ola. So Aloha doesn't care what I say. He just responds to everything that I say because he thinks it's all about him. I hope you're having a nice start into the new week. I'll let you know when it starts since I'm still technically in the previous week. Really struggling to decide whether I should transfer my character to another data center for potentially better loading times when DT releases. Loading times, interesting. That generally just installing the game on the SSD is good enough. I know that when an area is congested, it does increase the load times, absolutely. But that's rarely ever a real issue. Like to spend money to transfer, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't say yes to doing that. Just for the load times. The load times are like bad for like the first like 15, 20 minutes normally when everyone's rushing to the first couple of zones. By a day in, people are more spread out, and it's usually not an issue unless there's another issue that are forcing a lot of people into a similar area. Even if we set aside all the downsides like no retainer bell, my fear is that too many people also travel to another data center for better load. People don't do it for better loading times. They do it to log into the game. Loading times is like the last thing anyone's thinking about. They just want to play. If they have to sit through a 20-second load screen versus a 5-second load screen, that's better than disconnecting and not being able to play. So I don't think this is worth doing at all. We weren't leaving for load times. We were leaving because we were afraid of not being able to log into the game. What advice do you give to people who don't care about the downsides that data travel? Well, I mean, wait, what advice do you give to people who don't care? I mean, if they don't care, then they don't need my advice. Unless I'm misunderstanding what the question is. Do you believe it'll make a big difference for the queue? I mean, yeah, where you are is always going to make a difference for the queue. I mean, if you're on Ether or like Gilgamesh, yikes, I'm in trouble. But if you're on, Dynamis and, it's the average population, then yeah. And you know what? Maybe that's what you meant by load times. Maybe you meant queue times. That would make more sense because your load times is a thing, but I think you meant queue times the entire time. Okay, I think we got the story straight now. And did the dev team ever mention if they were working on other solutions to make a log? Yeah, okay. So you've mentioned logging in multiple times. So I think now we're on the same page. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of solutions. There's more servers. They're going to be... what's it called? Technically they have the cloud servers that they could use at this point, but I don't think that's going to be a solution. Encouraging people to spread out. They've greatly increased the capacity of the servers. They've even opened up the data center travel, like you said. So they've done a whole bunch of technical stuff, like opening up the world travel over to OCE as kind of like a low pop area everyone can go. And yeah, I mean, they've been working on it nonstop for like 2.5 years to make sure that the next expansion launch will go smoother. Whether or not it will is another story, but we can hope. It's probably the only answerable by speculation. No, I mean, how it will go is speculation, but there are answers to all of these things. And yeah, it's just have to wait and see if that's, how it works out in reality versus in, expectation. Y'all wrote a lot of text. I've been like 3 questions in. There's so much text here. I mean, that's fine. I mean, good thing I'm recording it a day early, so I don't have to think about it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Oh, no hello. Man, you wrote like a life story and no hello. Anyway, question or a few pertaining to Dawn Trail's new limited job, Beastmaster. Well, there have to be all speculation because we won't be seeing Beastmaster until at least 7.45. Just in case you weren't aware of that. Kind of weapon tool could Beastmaster use besides their pets? Axes, whips, crossbows, plenty of options. They could use whips. Yeah, I mean, listen, if they use whips, then, Balmung's about to have a hell of a time. I mean, not even Balmung. All the role-playing locations are about to have a time. Just, Balmung gets to be the butt of the joke because it has been. Sorry. What are some weapon types you'd like to see in future expansions? I'm indifferent. I do not care about the weapon type. Like when I see it, I might go, oh, that's pretty cool or that's unique. I just care that the job's fun. At the end of the day, like I like spears, but I don't care about Dragoon at all. And I don't want another job to get a spear because I don't like Dragoon, but I want to play a job that does have a spear that I do like. It doesn't matter to me. I just care that the job is fun. So like I don't care about the kind of more superficial aspects about it, except for Monk, because I like punching. Like I said before, I'd like to see whips brought to a full job for casters, a fan or umbrella. Well, I mean, we have fans. That's Dancer. Just, most of them aren't fans. They're chakrams. We were supposed to get more than just chakrams. They selected on the whole boomerang fan, like, more of the options that they said we were going to get. But yeah, like I said, I'm indifferent. I just want jobs to be fun at the end of the day. Holy Jesus. I thought the last one was long. Look at this. Look at this. I haven't even read it. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm promising you I'm not reading all this. Even if it wasn't 9 p.m., I'm not reading all that. So I apologize in advance. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Happy. Longtime lurker, first time. This person said hello. They get a thumbs up. First time commenter. Just want to say thanks for the years of consistent, high quality content. They give the most realistic understanding of Square Enix philosophies out there, and I really enjoy listening to your perspective and considerations on what they may improve. Thank you. I apologize for the fact that I will absolutely not be reading everything that you type from this. Sorry for the length. Hoping some of the sprinkled context might also be useful food for thought. Okay, I'm a Black Mage main, so these are Black Mage focused questions. Okay, I haven't played Black Mage much in Endwalker, but I played it a lot in Shadowbringers. Non-standard lines. Do you think they'll likely stay non-standard lines? Do you mean the non-standard rotation? Can I find the original source? Remember Yoshi P calling non-standard lines deviant lines around when paired. Yeah, I've never heard anyone refer to a rotation as a line ever before. This is the very first time in all of my Final Fantasy XIV history I've ever heard the term line, but I also don't listen to the, I don't pay attention to the direct Japanese to English translations of some things, so that might be why. Like most people know when they're not using the literal term lines, they mean rotations, so they localize it as such. I've never seen that before. Non-standard, non-standard also make Black Mage much worse, particularly problematic for ultimate. I've done ultimates on Black Mage, and Black Mage is viewed as complex. Black Mage is not complex. It's viewed as complex because people are afraid of having to stand still, and they think that you have no mobility on Black Mage. Dude, Black Mage is more mobile than Red Mage at this point. It's absolutely ridiculous how crazy it is. Widest DPS differential. It feels unlike Square Enix to perpetuate that. By differential, you mean just from bottom performing to top? Like, there's a lot of here's the problem. You wrote a lot of stuff, but there's also context missing about like actual full-on intent. I just think they don't really think about this at all. They have an idea of what they want it to be played like. Ideally, some people find other ways to do it. And unless it's like really toxic to the job and how it's perceived, they don't really care about how it's played as long as it's played within the bounds of their expectation and performs well against other things. I wish Square Enix would make a clearer stance on where Black Mage should be in the party. They're the caster, in the caster role. It doesn't matter. Like, you don't need a res, especially nowadays. Like, you need 8 people to play well. And does a res help you learn a little bit better? Sure, because you can get up. That's barely true nowadays. Nowadays, most of the time you take the death, it's pretty much over. Not to mention, you know what it is nowadays? Red Mage, they're like, oh, Red Mage is, Varese. They can't, we can't make them any stronger. They have to stay. Bro, they're like, every Red Mage I know is like melee combo. Every single time there's a res that needs to be had. Summoner's like, I used my Swift Cast on Ifrit or on Garuda or whatever they use it on now. And I'm just like, why haven't just take it away from them? They don't even try to use it nowadays. They're looking for any excuse not to use their res. They'll just use Swift Cast on cooldown for rotation and be in the middle. They don't even care anymore. No, Black Mage is the caster spot, just whether or not you want the combat raise or not. Most people do, and when they do, sometimes they run double caster, in which case they replace the melee spot, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no has to be. There's no has to be this for anything other than you want one of each role and you don't want duplicate jobs. After that, it's entirely up to you. I just don't recommend double fizz range because we suck. Anyway, moving on. And then the LB gimmick from top worries me as future content with double caster is much worse. Double caster also beat it week 1, I'm pretty sure. Or not week 1. Was it week 1? It was among the first sets of clears, if I recall. Like in the first 50 clears or something. Just most people didn't bother because they saw it the way it was. It's partially a combat res. 6.4 change to increase healing spell range. The larger arenas and higher movement mechs are likely going forward. Don't see double caster supremacy. I mean, they're also lowering the size of hitboxes, supposedly. Allegedly by their own words, but I'll wait till I actually see it. But I mean, double caster's been good the whole expansion. It's just, top has that one particular bit. But even then, if you just play well, it's not really an issue. Yeah, hopefully that was insightful enough. I don't know. There's a lot of text, a lot to go through, and I think my thoughts were clear enough, even though I didn't fully understand everything that was being said. Hashtag Mondays with, oh my God, it's so much shorter. Thank you. Thank you. Nothing against the people writing the long ones. I appreciate all questions, but I'm relieved right now. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy, but no hell. Yo, what is going on with people with the lack of manners this week? That's 2 people already. I'm 4 questions in. How do we do this? couple of weeks ago, you said something about an achievement taking 7 years to obtain. Could you elaborate on this, please? Which achievement is that? How do you start it? Why does it take so long? It's just completing leave quests. Just need to complete enough leave quests to earn the achievements. You only get 6 leave quests a day, plus whatever you might be sitting on. So, you know, if you need 5,000 leave quests, I think there's 3 achievements each, and each of them requires 5,000 leave quests. I don't think it's a single achievement. So it ends up being, what is it, 15,000 leave quests divided by 6. It takes 2,500. Yeah, that takes 2,500 days divided. Yeah. So yeah, I just did it on my phone real quick there. Just 3 achievements, 5,000 leaves each, 15,000 leaves divided by 6 per day, divided by the number of days in a year. Obviously, there's a leap year or 2 somewhere in there, but that's what you end up with. That's how many years it ends up taking to get the achievement with that rounding. So that's all it is. It's literally just because you can't possibly do any more leave quests than that in that period of time. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Mr. Happy. Hello. Thank you for all the videos you've created. Thanks. 2 questions. 1, would it be feasible to create a YouTube playlist with all your Mondays with Mr. Happy videos? Okay, so the answer is yes. Do I want to? Not particularly. Actually, there might be one very easy way to do it. There is actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, there's an incredibly easy way to do it. I was thinking of like going into each video and adding it to a playlist, and I'm like, oh my God, no, I'm not doing that. But actually, if you just search by Mondays with Mr. Like if I just go into my own dashboard and I just search Mondays and then just check them all, add to playlist. I have to do it, I think 50 at a time is the max I could do. But yeah, that would take like 5 minutes, actually. I might do that right after this, actually, so we'll see. 2, compared to the other games you've played, does Final Fantasy XIV give a lot of control to players on UI customizations? Oh my goodness, yes, the built-in UI custom. Don't get me wrong, there are more things that I want, and they absolutely could go further to your question here, but it's so much better than so many other games. It actually kind of bothers me when people get upset that Vanilla 14 doesn't have... They say that it needs more, like that it's not good enough. That's like, no, it's not in its final form, that's for sure. But it is leagues better than a lot of the vanilla stuff. Like, I also know that WoW no longer has a terrible default. You can actually modify it without downloading mods anymore for WoW. But then I think of games like Blade and Soul that I played, like Guild Wars 2. Like, these games didn't technically have horrible UIs, but they definitely had things I couldn't change when I played them, and it was torture. No, 14 is, in my opinion, for default, like just as the game has presented it, settings to change things is right at the tippy top. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. And another hello for anyone who didn't say hello. And we're still 1 short. Crazy enough as that is. Do you know who you'll have on the first tank predictions for State of the Realm and if Xeno will be there? I've always had trouble getting Xeno's schedule lined up with when State of the Realm is. It's just not at a good time slot for him. So probably won't be the guest. I also don't like to bother him too much. I'm very bad at asking people to be on State of the Realm in the first place. And because the scheduling's always been kind of tough there. I mean, if he hears this and says, yeah, I'll do it, and then we work, great. But it wasn't going to be just for those reasons. And 2, bonus question, with Square Enix balancing tank damage regardless of their utility, do you think Gunbreaker and Dark Knight will get their kits updated to match Paladin and Warrior? Wait. Excuse me, wait. Balancing tank damage regardless of their... Hold on. Gunbreaker and Dark Knight will get their kits updated to match Paladin and Warrior. I'm going to need context that I have not had in quite some time. And for that, I am going to let's go to this fight. That is the wrong setting. Let's go to that fight, and then let's do this. Okay, so I'm looking at P10, Gunbreaker's at the top, Paladin's basically tied with Warrior. Well, actually, it's got one like really big outlier. I don't know what that's all about. That's a crazy outlier. What the heck kind of feeding was that? They're all like basically equal. Okay, let's look at a different one then. To tank. This one, Gunbreaker. Okay, Dark Knight's really far behind in 9. I think that might be because of the disconnect phase, so that might be a design problem. Then we've got 11, and in 11, Wow, how's Dark Knight? Okay, maybe Dark Knight needs some help because Dark Knight burst hard, but Dark Knight is not doing so great in these averages. So here's the thing. I don't think they care that much because even amongst these differences, it's still technically really, like, I'm making it sound bad, but it's because when you don't actually look at what the numbers are, like for example, 12 phase 1 is like a difference of 70 from the median, you know. They're basically all equal. I've never seen anyone care about the DPS of any of the tanks right now because all the tanks are in a pretty good spot. Warriors, on average, most of the time in second or third. Dark Knight's pretty consistently in last, I'll tell you that. But again, only by a few points. And I don't know anyone who's ever cared about that. I know plenty of people who play with Dark Knights, raid with Dark Knights, and don't care. So I'm not entirely sure I understand. So you said get their kits updated. So are you... I'm trying to understand if you're asking if their damage is going to get buffed or if you're asking if their kits are going to be updated to play more like Paladin or Warrior, or both. I'm not entirely sure what the question actually is, but tank balance is pretty spot on right now. So it wouldn't even be a concern. My concern would personally be, will it still look like this in 3 months? And that's where the concern should be. Not about the kits themselves, but about that total number over there. That's a whole, like, what tanks need change, you know, bring Dark Arts back, whatever you're going to say. That's a whole different discussion than the one I'm looking at here, though. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Three not hellos. What is wrong with all of you? With the Elden Ring DLC, are you planning to play before Dawn Trail or not cover it on stream? Yeah, I'm planning to play before Dawn Trail. I've been saying that since we got the release date. So yeah, I'll be playing it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello there. Hi. Played some WoW for the first time recently and found the amount of short cooldowns, sub 10 seconds, interesting compared to 14. Believe that Bard has the shortest cooldown in Final Fantasy at 15 seconds with Bloodletter and Imperial Arrow. There been any more or other damaging abilities at these lower cooldowns in the past? I'd have to dig through 10 years of skills to remember that. But no, most of them were actually way longer back in the day. We had a lot more 3, 4, 5 minute cooldowns across a lot more jobs when Final Fantasy 14 and 13 have combined. 14? Final Fantasy 14 first released. Yeah, because everything just kind of lines up. They essentially like to not create nonstop busy work. WoW needs a lot more nonstop busy work because rotations are very, very simple by comparison. It's really more about the repetition of smaller windows and not about the overarching window from start to finish like Final Fantasy 14 is, with the focus on the 2 minutes in particular right now. So on top of that, they have a lower GCD, which increases kind of the expectation of the pace of combat, whereas we have a longer GCD that has a few more limitations on it, especially in your action-to-action decision-making. So I wouldn't expect anything like this in Final Fantasy XIV, or if there was, a job that was really more built directly towards it. We really only have these kind of things that you're describing here in really short windows of time. It's a little cut off there at the top, but hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hiya. Hey, just a quick question. With Endwalker officially over and all major patches in something I think isn't mentioned a lot about this expansion, how many quality of life updates we got across all forms of content? What is your favorite quality of life improvement added in Endwalker? I'm going to be kind of vanilla and go to the dungeon upgrades. I know that some of them aren't technically better than they were before, but the modernization of all the old stuff, to including the addition of trust to them, or duty support, I guess I should say, is monumentally different than what we've had in previous years. I mean, if flying in A Realm Reborn was this expansion, I'd say that, but I know it was last expansion. So it has to go to just the entire addition to the MSQ, because it's having tested a lot of it myself, it's so much better for newer players. Coloring and symbols added to the names of party members and instances. Oh, I literally have like nameplates like minimized to the maximum if they're not mine. Like I have initials set for other party members, and if you're not a party member, your name does not exist to me. Or a friend, technically, out in the world. But other than that, your name doesn't exist to me. So I honestly haven't even noticed that. So, but yeah, you've got my answer. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey-o, Happy. Hello. Hope you're doing well. Doing pretty good, I'd say. In the lull leading up to Dawn Trail, I decided to take the plunge and finally play through Final Fantasy XI. At the time of writing, I am following the 1 to 119 guide. I'm just shy of level 50. By the time you're reading this, I expect I'll be a few sections further and neck deep in expansion storylines. My question to you is this. At what point should I cut off the game for my own sanity? After you finish Rhapsodies. Voracious Resurgence is a good story, but it was added with the expectation that you'll either A, be able to find a party for some of those later missions, or B, you're so insanely overgeared that you can solo everything up to the final mission and then just shout your way and just shout for a party and then get through. You won't do it with trust me. But no, taking the time to finish Rhapsodies of Vana'diel, I think, is the logical stopping point. Anything after that is for curiosity's sake. And quite frankly, unless you already have people who are playing the game, who have been playing the game and can invite you and get you accustomed firsthand to some of the newer stuff, to some of the modern stuff, I think it is too difficult a task to expect a random player to continue from that point. So finish Rhapsodies and jump out. That's my recommendation. Oh, and to be clear, I mean, all of the storylines, including, don't like just finish Rhapsodies, but leave like treasures and wings and all that incomplete. No. Do all of them. Just Rhapsodies, just don't do all I'm saying is don't do Voracious at the end of the day. As good as it is, that's a step too far. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Happy, how you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. In 16, what would be your go-to gear icon ability setup for getting all S ranks? Dude, it's so annoying. You literally, so you have to bring the Garuda iconic feat. That's probably the single most important one. Bringing Titan is really good too, and bringing Shiva. Those three make it a lot easier. But the big thing is you are essentially pulling entire groups of enemies into one spot and then using the aerial upheaval or a fully charged Ice Age on all of them. You're essentially trying to buy the bonus as early as possible for getting bonuses for charged skills. And then you are trying to collateral everything. A single collateral in that case is probably about 700,000 points, especially on a lot of the earlier waves, which are the harder waves to get S rank on. You also, of course, can go with a time slip what's not called time slip? It's called Rift Slip. There you go. Rift Slip is just a nice little thing to help continue combos, especially when you're just doing basic attacks. Satellite doesn't hurt if you just want to pop off a satellite just to make sure you can maintain a 3x combo. But yeah, that's like 99% of the work is getting to the 3x multiplier as quickly as possible by using a few different extra skills or different skills, and then collateralizing with charge skills like aerial upheaval and Ice Age. It's really lame. I just wish that getting an S rank in 16 was not so specific of an endeavor. And that is, even after all the adjustments they've made, which have all been really good adjustments, it genuinely feels like there are so few logical ways to get S ranks on score-based missions. And it is a big killer for me personally. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Happy. Hi. I wanted to ask you about your experience as a streamer. I work full-time, and every other Sunday I run a D&D campaign for my friends. Do you have any tips on advice for someone like me who wants to fit in a small streaming schedule with all that going on? I've been streaming for about 3 years, recently taking a 6-month hiatus due to issues that finally were resolved. I want to get back in. Just do it. Streaming is literally an activity that pretty much everyone who got into it without a plan. Or if they made a plan, or if they had a plan or made a plan or whatever, it happened kind of early on, like after they had already done something. So exactly what you were doing before, you just need to do it again. If you have time to put aside for the D&D campaign, it's literally just about making like a window capture setup that you like, making sure everyone in your campaign is okay with you doing it, and then going. I mean, that streaming's never been more complicated than that. You can make it more complicated, but don't have to make it more complicated. You just do it. Hashtag Mr. with Happy Mondays. Hey, Happy. Hi. Thanks for all the content. Thanks for watching it. Started watching recently as my friends and I only just caught up to the end of 6.0 a few weeks ago after starting the game about a year and a half ago together. We're in different time zones and only do Dungeon Trial raids and MSQ when we're all on. Was surprised to learn in this episode that Bismarck is apparently hated. He's one I particularly like since he reminded me a lot of old Siege fights like Monster Hunter, like Lao Shan and Jen Moran. The question is, are there any fights in the game that are very unpopular but you happen to quite like? Oh, there's definitely one. Oh God, there's gotta be. There's ones that I hate that are popular, and there's ones that are like that I really. God Kefka. God Kefka is definitely one that I like. Don't get me wrong. I think there are some good design decisions, but I kind of have a gripe with a lot of the Stormblood raid design as a whole. And I didn't enjoy God Kefka on content, and I don't look back on it fondly now. Even though I do think there's a few, there are worse fights, but it's definitely, I'm only looking at a fight that I'm not like head over heels for, that a lot of other people, especially tanks, I know tanks love that fight, that they really like it. There's other ones too, but yeah, I'm gonna say that's the big one. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey yo. Hi, been running DR Savage. Got me thinking if we'll see hard level content with large crowds again. Yeah, I mean, we're getting an exploration zone in Dawn Trail. The expectation is we'll get another DR Savage. So I'm going to go ahead and say there is a high probability in Dawn Trail of this exact thing. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Okay, no, there is a hello. As we wait for that one Tuesday, but then it says, hey, Happy. I thought we had 4 in one video. Hope you and the cats are well and feeling satisfied with your gains. Your journey to go back to form has inspired me to have my own for the last 2 months now. Hey, nice. Yeah, I mean, there's a few things I'd still like to work on, but my body dysmorphia is not as bad as it used to be. What's crazy is how little I work out my arms, but everyone always compliments me on my arms. I'm a big, like, oh my God, dude, I just noticed look at this. Wait, no, it's on this one. Look at, hold on. Let me move this. Look at this cat scratch. Bro, I'm so sick and tired of my cats just leaving marks on me all the time. I'm a big proponent of not doing a lot of arms, actually, when it comes to the gym, because you use those muscles when you're doing other workouts already. So if anything, you just supplement. Like I do like on leg day, after I finish legs, do 1 set of buys, 1 set of tries. Sometimes 2 sets of buys, but most of the time, just 1 set. Like, and by 1 set, I mean like 1 workout of 3 to 4 sets, most of the time 3. So I'm like not a big like, oh, let me do a whole arm day and do like, 5 bicep work. No, I don't do that because on back day, I'm gonna use them anyway. So it's just gonna work out. Quick question, if you do not mind. We were able to use mounts at endgame hub cities until Stormblood, but that was removed in Shadowbringers and Endwalker. Why did they do that? So big reason is people sitting on NPCs, on their mounts, new MSQ, new raid quests. People just sit on NPCs on their mounts, and it's lame. So you can blame them. I don't think they've ever stated that, by the way. I think that's just the logical thing that we see them do. That's specifically why they said they didn't want mounts in areas like Ul'dah and Limsa. It wasn't because they were like tight-knit cities and it didn't make sense. It was because it's a lot of people and the mounts just take up a lot of real estate on the screen. So I assume they've just gone back to thinking that way. All right, Aloha's awake. We got to start speeding through these. I want lightning round after this because once he is up, he is annoying. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Happy. Hi. Hope things are well. Same for you. One thing I've noticed, and feel free to correct me if I've just missed them saying it, but every time I've seen them mention the new variant dungeon for Dawn Trail, they've always just saved variant and never criterion. That was something we took note of the very first time they said it, because on the actual screen, it said variant. Now, I know they have said criterion since then. I don't remember if it was in an interview. I don't remember if it was in a follow-up keynote, but I know they've specifically stated criterion again. So, but you keen observation. We all had this observation, and I would need to find you a source, but I'm mostly certain that they have said it since then. And if not, I think they're well aware that we want them to do criterion, and that variant kind of just encompasses the whole thing. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. He's eating, so we got time. Hey, Happy. Hi. Hope you're doing well. You too. Do you think they'll ever put pity gear drops in endgame dungeons? So you mean, I think, didn't we just have this question like 2 weeks ago? I'm not saying you should have seen it. I'm just like asking the rest of the people who were here who won't see this until this video. Anyway, moving on. Hearing horror stories about Ultimate Raiders having to do dungeons 50 plus times for their gear. Yeah, I mean, I'm almost certain that we had this discussion a couple of weeks ago, and I said, yeah, there's really no, it might have even been last week. It might have been on State of the Realm. It was somewhere, regardless of where it is. I'm a fan of it. I just don't see a reason to make people run the dungeon that many times for gear. I just don't see it. I'm sure there's some sort of spaghetti code in the back that causes it to be difficult because they weren't built that way or something, or they like when they added it to leveling dungeons, the same code's not compatible for other non-leveling dungeons. I don't know. I don't know. There's probably something there. But yeah, I would be perfectly okay with this. It's just at this point, they haven't done it. So how can I be optimistic about them doing it when it could have happened so long ago at this point? Hashtag Monday with Mr. Happy. Short one. Hi. Another Eureka question. Sure. Exactly how good is haste? My friend told me it is really good, so I bought the earring in the ring. I wouldn't have done that. Okay, so haste is basically, one haste is 1% off of your GCD. So that means that on a 2.5 second GCD, it will take 0.2, wait. Do I have the math right there? Because it's not 10%, because 10% would be 0.25. It's it's 0.025. Yeah, it takes 0.025 off, which it doesn't always round up to 3. It's like, so like 1 point will take 2, and then the second point will take the 5, because it is calculating the 0.025 in the back. So you can use it to get your GCD a lot lower. It's really, really good in Bozia in particular. However, Bozia has a lot of very weird rotations because of the way the skills interact with your rotation. Eureka is a little more traditional in the rotations that you can do. So a lot of jobs pretty actively avoid the haste so they can do their normal rotations in places like Baldessian Arsenal. So I've always been of the opinion that the gear in there is a pretty big waste for most people, and that most of the people who buy it just want to say they have it and don't really care about anything else. So unless something's changed, it's possible it's changed. I'm not operating on like the most recent information. You know, I pop into Eureka, but I'm not the one like doing all the math and everything. So it could be wrong. But I don't normally recommend spending tens of millions of gil on lowering your GCD in one particular type of content. Unless you're buying my Blitz ring, then I highly recommend it. All right, it's getting late. Doing this at 9 p.m. was a mistake, especially after a glass of whiskey to cheer to someone's birthday. And so I'm going to just lightning round through the rest of these. So we had the next question, which did have a hello. Would you consider adding timestamps to the questions? I've gotten this question before. The main reason I don't is strictly because I don't want to. I barely remember to upload it on Mondays sometimes. If I have to do that, it's just going to fall to the wayside. And then I won't remember to do it in the first place. Let's see. With melee uptime becoming a non-issue, remember, they said they were thinking about lowering the sizes of hitboxes going into Dawn Trail, so that may be an issue again. What if the square combined fizz range and casters simply have melee and ranged balance? I mean, you don't even have to do that. You can just make range stronger. Like, here's the thing. They could do that and then change nothing. And it doesn't accomplish anything. So they need to actually, rebalance the jobs regardless of how they define them in order for it to work. Then we have another hello. I'm taking note of these at the very least. A question that was bugging them for a while mentioned the relic resistance weapons were the worst to upgrade. Why is that? It is specifically because of the very small number of people on average that are doing Delubrum Reginae normal, which back in the day, I used to do 11-minute runs, which meant I could blast through an entire relic step in under an hour. I was catching 10 Delubrums between ocean fishing boats and just blazing through all of the Shadowbringers rocks. You can technically do that now. People do form parties for Delubrum normal, especially in PFs, in Discords. That's what I really meant to say. But it's far less common. So it just hasn't aged well enough, in my opinion. Not to mention the raids inside of the instances oftentimes have like 4 to 5 people. So unfortunate. There's first time question asker here who did say hello. Thank you. Thank you for that. As a person who analyzed everything, I wasn't sure which you get to see a lot. Doesn't matter. Also, okay. Recently got a new PC. If I wanted to know what's the best version to get, Steam or from the Square site, honestly, barely matters. Steam does come with the potential downside of Steam having outages, which can affect your login, if I remember correctly, but you get to pay with your Steam wallet. So you can turn all those stupid stickers that we get that sell for like 9 cents on the Steam marketplace, and you could eventually pay for your sub that way, I suppose. But functionally, though, it really doesn't make a difference. The only thing you have to know is once you make a decision, you're locked into that decision. So don't try to buy the other version after already starting with the first version. Let's say I remember someone asking you what your favorite anime was, and you were like, the only other person I know that has watched Outlaw Star. Yeah, it was on Toonami. I remember Outlaw Star. And specifically, I remember I was working at an anime convention, which is weird because I really didn't watch anime. My friend asked me to help him with it, and we were working at like a cassette and DVD vendor stand. And we got to take one thing that we wanted. They were like, okay, you can pick one thing and it's yours. Like that's what I'm giving you $50 and that. Like this is just whatever for like a couple hours work. And I didn't care. I was young. I didn't drive there. It didn't cost me gas money. I'll take it. So I picked Outlaw Star, the box set for it, which I don't have anymore. It's probably back in New Jersey somewhere. But I remember my friend, I don't even remember what he picked because I remember going back to his car and he had just stolen a bunch of stuff, which I don't condone because I know how tough the life is for people. And I wasn't a fan of finding out that he had done that. But my man was a klepto. And I was really uncomfortable there because I was like, how? How did you take? I literally stood and watched you go, like, because I went with him to vendor. It wasn't just the vendor we worked at. It was like other vendors. You'd just been stealing things from vendors working at a small convention in like Secaucus, New Jersey. And I'm just like, bruh. Why did you have to? Anyway, yeah, sorry. That just reminded me of that story. Moving on. There was someone who's saying with Harvestella, where they are in the game. I can't tell how far I am in it, but I feel like I'm missing something. You're pretty far in. Let's see. Oh, should I delay the story? You don't have to delay the story for anything in Harvestella. There's no time limit, and there's... You can keep playing after you beat the game, so you don't have to worry about missing things. I think there's nothing at all you can miss in Harvestella, if I remember correctly. Let's see. Play Red Mage feels outclassed by other jobs in the magic role. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier because of them being a res bot. That's why their damage is lower. I don't agree with it, especially because of the way they actually play, but I also think they should just get rid of all the reses on the casters anyway. It is what it is. Couldn't think of another way to oh my goodness, 9 Mr. Unhappy until Dawn Trail with Monday. I'm gonna die. Think they'll keep doing what they did with Endwalker with the final fight being a solo duty? I mean, they'll use solo duties, but no, I think that was very specifically for Endwalker's story moment. And you did say hello, by the way. Like I said, taking note. No, I think that's something that very much belongs to Endwalker and will only happen when it is appropriate to happen. Another hello from the next person. Someone would say, what is one game that you loved and feel desperately deserves a remake? I don't really care that much about remakes. There are games that I love that I'd like to see come back into the limelight. I'm one of those give me Bloodborne on PC with 60 FPS kind of people, yeah. But remake? No, I'm really not ever concerned about it. Even if I love a game, I love the game that I played. And I guess I don't need it to be remade. If they did it and it was fun, great. But I'm otherwise like just content with pretty much all. Like I didn't need Super Mario RPG remake. It hyped me up, but I played the original right before. And I'm like, yeah, this is as good as it ever was. Like, are there other updates in the new one that are great? Sure. But if it never happened, I wouldn't have been upset, I suppose. A bonus question. I have a 5-year-old kid. You want to get him a buddy so he's not alone. Best to make sure the second is around the same age. Well, I guess, and then does male or female matter? Well, male or female matters whether or not they're spayed or, fixed or whatever. So, if the male is not fixed, 100% make sure it's another male. If he is spayed, then it doesn't matter that much, although they can still get a little weird around female. Like Aloha tries to sniff Ivy's junk all the time, even though they're both fixed. So that is what it is. Get him a buddy. Yeah, I did that for Aloha, and it has not changed anything about him. They have their time together, and then he comes and wants his time with me. So it may not be the fix-all or even the remote fix in any capacity that you think it is. So I would say it's more important to get a cat that gets along personality-wise with your cat. But I'd also say just you're taking on a second living being. Maybe just focus on that aspect and less about what your cat may want or need, because that's what we did with Aloha. It's like, oh, he could probably use a buddy. And while I love Ivy, thinking back, I shouldn't have done it for that reason. It worked out, but I shouldn't have done it for that reason, in my opinion. I was thinking about the purpose of the 14 companion app. Yeah. Just a subscription to more storage. No, so I think in Japan they actually use it, if I remember correctly. There's just a lot more culturally, it's a lot more normal to use things like that. App hasn't really undergone any significant changes. No, it hasn't. And quite frankly, if you're asking me what I think they should do, the answer is nothing. I don't want a companion app. I don't want them to make it any more useful. I don't want to have to even think about using it. I'm glad that it's not that useful because I don't want to use it. Sorry, I know it's kind of a boring answer, but it is what it is. And then we had, is there any content in the game that's truly dead? I don't think so. No, almost anything you can go into. There are things that are harder to get into. Dude, even just doing some of the old, like have you ever tried to just queue into Lakshmi as a new player? Sometimes it's really bad. You know, and not only talking about on like Dynamis. I mean, I'm talking about on like Ether. Sometimes they're just old instances that take so long to get queues in. Is that particular thing dead? Yeah, because it only exists to facilitate the story, and people in trial roulette are the people who are going to help you. But no, you can pretty much find a group for anything. Funny enough, closest thing I think is Blue Mage. It's getting used a lot in Yokai right now, but I mean the content, because not a lot of people go back and actually do Mass Carnival or try to do the 8-man raids, which seems to be the main draw anyway. Then we had lore-wise. What would you rank the relic weapons in terms of lore? Honestly, just put the anima at the top. Anima, Zodiac, everything else. I honestly don't care much for the lore behind the Eureka or the Manderville weapons. Like, it's not even like it's bad. It's just like, I'm not going to power rank that because they're just not, the way they're made just doesn't really compare. They're just like, well, we need to do a lot of stuff to this weapon and make it really strong. Let's see. Bismarck is not a bad fight in 14 by any metric. Yes, it is. Okay. I'm struggling with sticking to one character because I like multiple races. Painfully aware of how alt unfriendly 14 is. You have any advice to a dumb like me who has 8 characters and isn't getting anywhere? Stop it. That's the advice. Stop it. What else am I going to tell you to do? Stop. The question wanted your input on hotkeys. Personally, use them. I think they are a better way to raid. Still newer to the raid scene. Well, yeah, I mean, are you saying a controller versus a keyboard? Because you should 100% not be clicking skills, if that's what you're referring to. Use hotkeys. I met people who click. Yeah, some people like have 1 or 2 skills that they click. I have no idea what this question is. Should people... Okay, so if you're just asking if people should completely give up clicking, if they can beat the fight, I literally don't care how they're playing. It's irrelevant to you. If they are capable of beating DSR and they are clicking some of their skills, I don't care. They are good enough. Bottom line. Then we have another one. I'd like them to work on Guildhest. Stop laughing. Hear me out. Didn't I think I just answered a question about this last week. No, Guildhest are a tutorial system. If they wish to expand on it for tutorial sake, great. But I prefer they expand on the Hall of the Novice, make a Hall of the Intermediate, or something like that. There's no reason to expand it. It was always meant to be a system that simply taught basic things to know in the game. It was never meant to be an activity or an end game activity that was expanded upon, nor is there any reason to particularly expand upon them. And I think that's it, other than like the odd-off comment that I could comment. I have another, he looks different, what's wrong with him kind of comment. You know, those are always my favorite. We like to shout those out. You know, can't be healthy. Dude, I wonder if my very Italian, very eat a lot of pasta Italian family, because they've probably seen me. They're probably just like, oh my God. Why did I do that? I tried to make like a Marge voice there. I didn't do a good job, but I kind of sounded that way. One that says rezzing should be allowed outside of combat for everyone. I don't agree, unless you have a Phoenix down on you, which last week we answered the Phoenix down question, where it seemed like someone wanted everyone to be able to use them more frequently. And the question seemed to imply as if it was in combat. So I answered as if it was in combat. Comment about spaghetti code. Someone asking how to ask me questions. The irony is you just did, and somebody answered you, so I just let that one go. Some Harvestella comments, digging the hair. Well, last week's hair, this week's hair. I don't know how you'll feel. Something about Blue Mage's initial reception not being good, but 60-70 really improved the job. It doesn't matter if you improve the job. It matters if you improve the playing rate of it. How often are people engaging with it? How popular of a system is it? Not its actual, bottom line functionality. So, in my opinion, also, I'm of the big opinion that Blue Mage updates have not improved the job. They've simply made it less and less flexible because you have to take a very specific set of skills to be effective on the job at this point. And I don't find the opener or reopener or any of that to be fun. It's essentially just blasting through all your primal skills one after the other and applying some like high potency dot. And then there's like some interchangeableness depending on the fight or I don't know. I feel like it's just gotten less and less interesting the more skills it's gotten, surprisingly. And then, let's see, is there anything else I need to grab? Cut out soda. Yeah, that was a big piece of advice from last week. Lighting looks good. Not tonight, it doesn't, but you know, that's all there is. Some stuff about the stack and the spread, Hydatos crystals, the Eureka comment I covered earlier. Grand Blue with a PS5 controller, Stellar Blade with a DDR pad. That ain't gonna work. Hair has become one of those things I look forward to every Monday. Thank you. Thumbnail expression was great, and the mispronouncing Ola thing. Okay, yeah, no, I think we're all good. So that's going to be a wrap for this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Again, if you have a question, be sure to ask it in the comment section of the video below. And I appreciate all of y'all for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next Q&A. Until then, take care.